So why do we get parasites in the beginning, originally? In order to answer that question, we have to pretty much dissect the role of a parasite. Parasites come in and remove or decompose cellular waste or cellular death, dead tissues. And if we, look at science and experience, we know that happens with mammals that die off, as well as plants, trees. Anything really that was alive at one point, decomposition happens too. And that's pretty much just the breaking down of. It's just breaking down. It's the natural, like housekeepers of the world. Parasites come in and they clean house. They dispose of. Okay, so we've answered that question. So the next question we have to ask is, well, in what ways are we experiencing cellular death? If that's what parasites do and they're cleaning house inside of us, then there must be cellular death inside of us. And that is true. Cellular death happens from a few different reasons, okay? The first reason that we experience cellular waste, or a buildup of cellular waste, cellular death, is being void of nutrition, consuming high free radicalized foods, not consuming enough high antioxidant foods that are double bonded, that send free radicals out of the body. We're not eating enough carotenoid content in our food, so we're not eating enough red, yellows, and oranges. Carotenoids are natural immune stimulants. People with autoimmune diseases and or parasites experience an arise in their symptoms when they eat red foods, especially things like bell pepper, tomatoes, like salsa, tomato paste. The reason being is when you have an autoimmune disease, it's essentially where the body is attacking itself. Well, we know that the body doesn't just attack itself. The body attacks foreign invaders in the blood, organs, and so on and so forth. So when carotenoids ramp up the immune system, it boosts white blood cell count against whatever is causing the confliction inside of you. So people often mistake that for allergies or flare-ups. That food is doing its job, and that's to boost the immune system. But it can seem like it makes your condition worse, or that you could be allergic to it. Okay, but in all actuality, that food is actually just doing what it's supposed to do. It's stimulating the immune system, which is ramping up the ability to fight off the disease that's inside of you. But because it's inside of you, you do experience flare-ups, etc., so on. So we're void of nutrition, we're void of chlorophyll and greens, we're eating refined processed, high sugary, white sugar, brominated flour, white flour, flour in general, things that are prepared, taken from their natural state and turned into a byproduct of a food. So a byproduct of a food is not the food and its original context or content. It's been like manipulated, adulterated, it's been heated and ground. It's actually anything in a prepackaged mix, or like crackers or any of that. So we're filling up on refined food. There's many downfalls to this. The first thing is it's not so much that, like white bread, for instance, will kill you. It's the fact that you're filling up on nutrient deficient, or nutrient void of nutrients. What am I trying to say? You're filling up on crap. And then you're not eating the things that that God called for us to eat. You know, we're not eating real fruits anymore. We're eating, you know, like fruit-flavored ice creams and fruit-flavored muffins. And so that's a big issue. The second issue is synthetic anything. I'm talking synthetic chemicals, synthetic additives, synthetic vaccines, synthetic health and beauty aids. Anything that's synthetic is going to act as a immunosuppressant, a endocrine disruptor, and it's going to cause thyroid dysfunction, as well as many other things. All I'm going to say about this next thing is pretty much just one quote that stuck with me. A lot of you don't know, when I first started this journey, I was very sick. I had surgeries, I had gone through the whole, you know, diagnosis and thinking I was going to have to live that way for the rest of my life. It turned out I had parasites. Not only did I have parasites, but I had a parasite-like infestation. I know that's a lot. That's a lot to sink in. But this really happened, and it has humbled me, and it has woke me up to a big thing that Western medicine, as well as the modern world, are just kind of missing out on. And that is when your body is in an optimal state of health and you contract a parasite or a virus, or you interact with a bacteria, your body in its optimal health will be able to fight that infection off. I'm talking proper amounts of iodine, you know, selenium, everything that it needs to support your immune system and your white blood cells. When your body is not in optimal health and you do interact with viruses, bacterias, that sort of thing, and viruses is really another topic. I don't believe viruses are not alive. I believe viruses are an entirely different subject, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna add it. But I do believe that I know that when the body is in optimal health, your body will naturally fight those pathogens, the pathogenic species of whatever kind, off. But when you add when you're void of nutrition, and then you're adding synthetic additives in the food, on the skin, and so on and so forth, you're suppressing the immune system with the diet, and you're suppressing the immune system with an external source. Or sources, with xenoestrogens and chemical additives. And so you have now two sources in which you're suppressing your immune system and causing many other issues, but we'll just say suppressing the immune system. And so now you're sick. Now you've opened up the perfect environment to promote cellular death. You've suppressed the immune system so the body cannot ward off the parasites, and so they're invited in to come in and clean house and dispose of all the trash inside of you. So that's pretty much that. When with synthetic pharmaceuticals and synthetic additives, the one thing that I have to say about that is you cannot treat an organic, holistic phenomenon with a synthetic approach. Okay, the body is infinite. You know, the body is, we're composed of thousands and thousands of organic, you know, processes and compositions. And so our bodies are made to do what they're supposed to do, given the tools, given or provided that they have what it needs. You know, so, and I really love this analogy, but for instance, when you get a headache, Kent Hovard said this, people that take Tylenol when you get a headache, it's essentially the same thing as unplugging your oil light, because your oil light is telling you that it's time to change the oil. And so instead of just, taking care of the root of the problem so that it'll go away, treating your headache with a synthetic approach such as Tylenol or Advil is essentially unplugging that light so that the problem will just go away. And it will always come back, okay? And so that's how Western medicine is treating disease, okay? And obviously that's the wrong way. There are many, many reasons. I think it speaks for itself. But ultimately, wherever there is an issue, there is an opposite reaction that caused that issue. And so, and that takes me back to synthesizing things. Synthesis, or synthesizing something, the definition of that is to imitate, okay? So if the body is an organic playing field, then the body can only utilize organic constituents. Okay, so what do you think your body is doing with synthetic additives that mimic iron or that mimic vitamin A? The body hoards onto it. It tries to use it, but it ends up congested in the liver and the lymph and the blood. And if you're eating free radicalized foods, such as overcooked foods, anything fried, anything, cakes, any excitotoxins, anything that really excites the taste buds, that promotes cellular death. Did you know that when you eat food additives, such as sweeteners, added sweeteners, and added salts, your cells legitimately become excited about 2 seconds before they just completely die? Our bodies were made to take the organic foods and herbs and things that were here on this earth just as they were to be eaten. So, I do not eat 100% fully raw. I do not live a perfect life with a perfect diet. I don't. Since I've become aware, I am very conscious. I'll just say that. I have a very conscious and aware diet. So I do eat raw food, I do eat shakes and smoothies and salads. But I still know how. I still like to treat myself. Who doesn't? But the whole matter is just that when you're using something that's an additive, you're not getting the full benefit of what that food has to offer. But that's just with foods. When you get into pharmaceuticals and health and beauty aids and lotions and makeups, and if you look into the Hulda Clark theory, it's not a theory, it's really truly something that's been suppressed, but she's basically found out the pattern and also the cause of cancer. And so in every cancer patient that she treated, which was terminally ill, that she did treat 100, for this case study, 100 terminally ill patients. In each one, she found the parasite Phaseolopsis busci, which lives in the intestines, typically quietly, and causes minimal damage. But then when you introduce IPA or isopropyl alcohol into your lifestyle, it is accumulated in the liver by some people. Some people can metabolize it promptly, and it's not a big issue, but some people cannot. And in those people that accumulate isopropyl alcohol in their livers, the presence of the Phaseolopsis busci and the accumulation of IPA produce what's called orthophosphotyrosine, which is a growth factor that divides and multiplies cells. It gets more complex than that, and I could really break it down, but the chances of you understanding it would probably be slim to none. But basically, in order to have this growth factor, you have to have the busci and you have to have IPA. And so what she found was, when she killed the parasites by means of parasite detoxing, and when she took away isopropyl alcohol out of the lives entirely of these patients, they got better. and then they were tested again when they were getting better, and they did not have Fasciolopsis buscae, and they did not have accumulation of IPA in the liver, with liver flushes and things like that. So I think Holden Clark definitely had it right. I absolutely 100% believe that. However, one thing that I believe that she missed or left out was diet. And Dr. Sebi proves the nutritional aspects right when it comes to like herbs and eating alkaline foods and things that support the body. So between the two, I believe they have it 100% right. You know, you've got to support the body. You've got to support the vitamin and mineral consumption. I mean, we are vitamin and mineral. We operate on vitamins and minerals. And so if we're lacking what we need to feel satiated through the day, to have mental power, to have energy levels, like physical levels, to have you know, to have our bowels running smoothly, and all of these, you know, we have to have, you know, magnesium and copper and phosphorus, and these are all things that we have to have. So if you look at a plant and you can tell that a plant needs more nitrogen because the leaves are turning yellow, what makes us any different? Yes, we're not plants, I get it. However, do you just sprinkle some Tylenol or radiate it to death to get the leaves to turn that pretty, like, bright green again? No. You give it what it needs. It needs nitrogen, phosphorus, and a few other things, I'm sure. So you give the life force what it needs. And so that's the whole idea of healing and parasite detoxing, is to support life. We're supporting life here. That means living foods, real, and Dr. Sebi, again, that goes back to living foods. Eat foods that are electric, that are alive. Okay, so why do we get parasites in the first place? We're void of nutrition, and we utilize synthetic chemicals and additives and cleaning agents pretty much all the time. And so between those two things, we've invited parasites into our lives. And so when we can figure that out, when we can understand and accept those two things and change them, then we become aware. Then we have figured out how to not become reinfected. So that's my rant for now, but if you have any questions or comments, just post them below, and I'll try and get back to you when I can.